Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I am thrilled that you're with us today, because our guest today is someone who has experienced what most of us would consider to be the worst thing that could happen to anybody. She was the mother of 2 children who died, and she has come through that. She has 2 who survived, but I'm a mother of 3. I have 5 grandchildren, and take any one of those children, and I'm not sure I could survive that, and I know what happens after death. So this is someone who has an extraordinary life story, and she has triumphed in ways which I don't think very many of us would be able to triumph. So her story is in many ways horrible and beautiful. And she will talk about it today in ways that I think many people really need to hear. She tells us that she didn't even have the luxury of really grieving when she lost her little baby at the age of 2, because she had, at that time, 4 children under the age of 5. So she says she buried that grief in mothering the 3 children that remained. And she then went on to do an amazing thing. She dealt with little Chelsea's death by writing 4 books and spending a beautiful 15-year career as the happiness speaker, teaching companies to have happy employees. And that was a beautiful thing. But then something awful happened when she was an adult. In 2022, her 29-year-old son, Rob, died. And she discovered, he died, I think, of a drug overdose. And she discovered that that was pretty tough, too. Within a few months, though, she discovered the grief recovery method, and she got certified in that and began to deal with her own grief by helping other mothers deal with suffering and the loss of a child. Her son, Rob, soon began to come through to her then, and he has taught her how to connect with him in very special ways. So she's able to teach other mothers powerfully how to connect with their own children in special ways as well. This woman is literally a beacon of hope and joy to all mothers. Kim, welcome. I'm delighted to have you back, and I can't wait to have you tell people now how you are doing the wonderful things that you do. Welcome back to Seek Reality.
Oh, Roberta, those words almost bring me to tears. That is just, I'm humbled by those grandiose words. I think I'm doing what anybody out there is doing who's lost a child or lost somebody they deeply loved, which is you just keep going. You keep putting one foot in front of the other and trying to make the world a better place for having lived through something so awful. So I'm really thrilled to be here, and deep gratitude to you for having me back. Thank you so much.
Well, that sounds pretty humble, Kim. And unfortunately, most people are not as strong as you are. You're pretty strong, I must say. But talk about this now. You had your little baby die when you had 4 children under the age of 5.
Yeah.
And this was a death from leukemia, I think, or
Correct. Yeah, from leukemia. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah, Chelsea was just 18 months old when she was diagnosed. Rob was only 6 months old. And so she was 18 months old when she was diagnosed, and she died 6 months to the day later. She had a bone marrow transplant in Minneapolis. She didn't have childhood leukemia. She had monosomy 7, which is the worst kind of leukemia, adult leukemia. And when it's in an infant, it's pretty, they gave us a 1% prognosis. And, my friends have always called me Mary Poppins. So I was like, 1%, we'll take it. Somebody's got to be that 1%. Right. Why not us? I think you hold out hope forever. Yeah, and when Chelsea died, I remember I again, my friends would always call me Mary Poppins, but I just fell into a pit of despair. I really didn't think I was going to be able to work my way out of. I just thought this is over. And I remember when somebody said to me, this was, a few months later. I mean, we came home from the bone marrow transplant unit. We had our services, and I got back to mothering. I had been away for 3 months with her at the Ronald McDonald House. So my mother had come and stayed with the kids, but it's like I had to integrate myself into their lives again, and I'm dealing with this grief, and how do I support them and my husband and all the things. And it was a few months after that, and somebody said, well, you'll never get over it. And I remember thinking, oh, shit, I'm 30. I'm like, I can't live like this forever.
Oh,
And I've now come to learn, I think when people say you'll never get over it, what they mean is you'll never forget. I'll
yeah.
never forget Chelsea. I think of Chelsea every day, and she's been gone over 30 years. Rob died just 3.5 years ago. I think of him every single day. But I don't believe it's a life sentence. When they say you won't get over it, I mean, it's always going to be there. But, I like to say grief is a part of my story, but it's not my whole story. It's a part of my universal. Grief is a universal experience. I mean, they say by the time a child reaches the age of 14, they will have had 5 major grievable experiences, maybe loss of a pet, loss of a grandparent, having to move, parents getting divorced. These are all huge grievable experiences. And so, grief is universal. I didn't have the tools back then that I have now. And I remember when somebody said that, and I just was like, what? How am I going to, like, how do I overcome this? How do I deal with all this? And I remember thinking, God, I just want to be happy again. I used to be so happy. I was happy. And I thought, well, why don't I research happiness and find out what does genuinely make us happy? How do we become happy? And that really started me down the path of researching happiness. Now I've written, 4 books. Rob and I wrote a book together that was not on the happiness, but I researched, that's what I speak on. I'm known in the media as the happiness speaker. And so it really changed the whole trajectory of my life. And little did I know at the time that this was the start of a lifelong journey. Rob, has come through to me from the other side and has made it very clear that Chelsea, he and I all came in together with huge soul contracts with each other to have this experience, and that I needed that experience 30 years ago so that I could be in the place where I am now. Because had I not had that experience of losing a child and knowing, yes, you can get over it, not forgetting them, but learning
Yeah.
to honor them, not
Right.
living in that pain forever. I mean, you have to go through the grief. The year after Rob died, I canceled every speaking engagement. How do you stand up and speak on happiness after your child has just died? Yeah. And I remember I said to one of my girlfriends, I said, after Rob died, and I was just in such a bad place. And I was like, now I've got to get a whole new career. I'm like, I can't be the happiness speaker. How am I ever going to talk on happiness again after losing Rob? And I just remember she looked at me and she goes, Kim, who better than you? Who better than you?
Who
Just
better than you?
Yes, give
Yeah.
yourself time. And it's made my talk so much deeper and richer, and brought so much to it. But it was really that experience of Chelsea that made me think, okay, let's do a deep dive on this happiness thing. And trust me, I've needed every bit of that knowledge in the last three
You
years
can
since Rob.
stand up there and you can say, you think you can't be happy? Well, I'm a mom who's lost 2 beautiful children, and if I can do it, so can you.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
What a speaker you can be on happiness now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's really made my presentation so much richer and deeper. And I do think, for most of us, if we have children, the biggest wound we can imagine is losing a child.
That's right.
And I think when you come, Yeah, and I know your background, but when you can get to the place where you can really remember that this was their soul's journey.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
was, this was, I believe before we incarnate, we decide we're going to experience certain things. And this was what
yeah.
Chelsea chose. It was what Rob chose. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't malicious. There's nobody to blame. There's
No,
nothing to be
right.
angry about. I think it is really an act of humble respect to our children's eternal souls
Yes,
when we
perfectly
can
said.
when we can
Yes,
embrace their journey, when we can go, Rob knew what he needed this lifetime to expand, to grow, to evolve. Who am I to question his choices? He's
yeah,
an amazing soul. He planned his life beautifully, and I feel like as his mama, one of the best things I can do is
yeah,
honor the journey he took.
yes, so beautifully said. And so he has come through to you. How has he done that?
Well, the first time, so I had a friend who's a very gifted psychic. She doesn't do it publicly. It's not her career. She's very accomplished. But she's known since she was 4 that she could communicate with spirits on the other side. And we've been very, very dear friends for years, but I never had her do any of the psychics. I mean, we were just really good friends. I didn't have any need for that service. So we, but Rob had a pest control business and he sprayed her house for mosquitoes and all that. So he saw her often. And after he died, he came through to her. And he came through loud and clear with lots of messages. And sometimes she was calling me twice a day. She's like, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm like, no, this is not a bother.
Yes.
I'm a heap on the couch sobbing. I'm like, anything you can tell me, I'm so grateful for. And so she would have she'd come and go, Rob wanted me to tell you. Rob said, Rob, blah, blah, blah. And so one day I was just feeling a little bit sorry for myself. And I said, Eve, I so appreciate all these messages, but I really want to talk to him direct. I don't want to have to go through you. And she got quiet for a minute. And I believe it was Rob telling her what to tell me. And she
Right.
said, open your computer tomorrow morning and he'll be there. I was like, okay, because I'm not a psychic, I'm not a medium, I'm not a channel, I don't have the gift. I'm like, okay. So the next morning I get up and I have this big overstuffed chair that was Rob's and it was in his apartment. And that's where I would sit to do my morning meditation. So I got ready and I did my little meditation. I had my cup of coffee and I'm all set. And I opened my computer and I said, Eve said if I started typing, you would show up. And it was like, boom. My fingers just started to fly over the keyboard. And it was just pouring through me. I can't even explain it. It was just like I could barely keep up with him. And then I didn't know if this was one and done. I mean, I'd never had an experience like this in my life. So I sat there for like, I don't know how many hours. I mean, I didn't get up to go pee. I wasn't moving. It was like, if this is all I'm getting, I'm taking every bit of it.
Absolutely.
And I asked him so many questions that morning. And
Oh,
then
wow.
every time Rob would leave a room, he would go, peace out. I mean, he was just a cool 29-year-old dude. And we're sitting there talking, and there was a lull, and it was just like, peace out. And boom. It was almost like you could feel like the air kind of went out of the room. It was like, whoosh. I was like, oh, man. And then I went back and read what he had said, and I knew it wasn't me because it was stuff I didn't even understand.
Yeah.
It was nothing that was ever in my consciousness. So I knew it wasn't
Right.
my thoughts.
Right.
And
Right.
then I got up the next morning, same routine. I did the exact same thing. And sure enough, he came through. And that morning, it was just like 10 minutes. He was like, I don't remember. Of course, I've got the whole journal, but it was just a little blip. And then he was like, peace out. And he was gone. And then we just started every day, not every day, because obviously I work and life happens and you've got things to do, but many, many, many times a week, many, 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 many hours, I sat in that chair just getting information from him. And in the beginning, it was really just messages for me as his brokenhearted mama trying to get myself back. Anybody who's been through grief knows that you're just trying to get yourself upright again.
Yeah.
And, after a few months, the nature of the conversation started to change, and it became more about like life lessons and universal truths and things he wanted me to know about the other side. And then, it was a few months after that when he said, Mom, I want you to put this all in a book. And I was like, oh, he pushes my button. He pushed my buttons last night. I did a meeting for Helping Parents Heal, and we're getting ready to get on. And he says, I have a message for all the moms on that call. And I said, okay, what is it? And he said, oh, well, I'll tell them when you get on. And I'm like, no, Rob, I don't deliver messages from the other side. I'm like, and he's like, well, you are tonight. I was like, oh my God, you keep pushing me. You keep pushing me. So I delivered the message. Mamas were crying. It all was good. It was like, okay. So, yeah, it's interesting, because it used to be I only got information from him when I sat down to type. And then it just became, I communicate just in my head. I don't need to be in front of a computer anymore. And now apparently I'm going to say some of them out loud at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just rolling with the punches, Roberta. I'm just like grabbing onto this big, beautiful life we've been given and taking the ride with joy and wonder and gratitude.
So beautiful. That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like Mikey Morgan and Carol Morgan. Carol didn't sign up at all for this.
No.
She didn't. She certainly, as she says, I never would have signed up for this at all. But he's a being who is actually quite advanced, and he answers questions now through his mother, and that may be where you're going to end up. Who knows? It's really up to Rob.
Oh, it is. Trust me, he's pushed all my buttons, just like he did when he was in a body.
But that's a lovely, lovely thing.
Yeah.
And so, what is the name of the book?
The book is called Beyond Grief: How a Son's Afterlife Connection Transformed a Mother's Loss into a Remarkable Spiritual Journey.
And this, I think that when we last spoke, the book was not yet published, but now it's published.
It's published. Hold on. I want to grab one. And I know readers can't, or listeners can't see it, but it's got a beautiful orange cover.
A lot of people are watching this.
Okay, I'm going to grab one real quick. It's right here, okay?
Okay.
Oh, wait, it's right here. This is the one I used last night in my meeting. It's got my baby on the front.
There he is.
There he is. I don't know. It's hard to get it there, but yeah. So it is
Wonderful.
Such a labor of love and so much wisdom in there. And one of the mamas last night, she had read the book and she said, Kim, this book isn't just for mothers that have lost a child or somebody that's lost. She's like, everybody needs to read this book. It's life lessons. And that is true. There's a lot in there. There's the bulk of the book is just things about being on the earth that will make it easier for us to navigate. So
that Mikey wrote a book with his mother, and it's the same kind of thing. The wisdom that these beings have who have transitioned back, because they were on Earth so recently, they know what people need to learn. So the book is full, I'm sure, full of wisdom, full of knowledge that people really need who are on Earth right now. So I'm sure it's a beautiful book.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of beautiful stuff and radical stuff too. It's not, there's no pandering. I'm like, there more than once I had to say, Rob, this is going to be a lot for people to take in. When the man that sold him drugs was convicted to 38 years in prison, when the first people in the Western District, all the judicial districts, to be charged and convicted, because Rob had cameras in his house, so there's no disputing the drugs that he took that killed him were sold to him by this man. And he got 38 years in prison and no chance of parole. He'll be 71 when he gets out. No good behavior, early release, anything. It is a set sentence.
Which is
yeah. And I said to Rob, the day after we went down and they had the sentencing, we were there in the courtroom. And the next morning, when I did that point, I was still typing, and I said, what do you think of that? And he said, Ethan is our soul family. he raised his hand and volunteered to
That's what
play that
happened.
role in my life. And he said, I had a Rob was a tennis pro. Had a degree in entrepreneurship. He got out of college. He started a pest control business. He built this little tennis academy type place up on Mount Sequoia in Fayetteville where he had all these students. He, he had a great life. We took a couple of vacations every year. He went to all kinds of tennis camps. His life revolved around being outside and sports, and he had great friends. And he was also an addict. I mean, that was part of his story too, but it wasn't the biggest part of his story. That was just a piece of who he was. And he he said Ethan lived a horrible life. We found out in the courtroom that day he was addicted to meth by the time he was 12. He was abused by his mother's revolving door of boyfriends because she was also an addict. And so there was all this, he had a really, really horrible, horrible, hard life. And Rob said, Rob calls it the starry waiting room between lives, that place where we go after we transition to decide, okay, what are we going to set up for our next lifetime? What do we have to, what lessons do I need to learn so I can grow and evolve in my own
Yeah.
soul's evolution? And he said, Ethan raised his hand and he had a horrible, horrible life so that he could be there in that moment, hand me those drugs that would help me fulfill my destiny. And he said, Mama, you got to give him that same mama bear love you gave me. He said, he's part of our soul family and you gotta love him the same way you loved me. I was like, okay, well, that's
But that's
there's
what happens in this planning. There, if a negative person needs to be there in order to help someone in the soul family to fulfill his life plan, someone has to raise their hand and offer to be that person. Exactly how it happens.
Yes. And if we can start to see that more as an act of grace and an act of love than an act of
Yes.
vengeance, because Rob says, and I had an editor help me with the book, and she kind of laughed. She goes, Kim, I think in here at least 30 times you say there is no bad, it's all good. Everything's
Yeah.
good. Everything leads to good. And
Yeah.
in the book, I even say, what about sex traffickers? What about child abusers? Like what? And he's like, he said, wherever in wars, he said, wherever there is hatred and there is pain, more love gets sent. And, think about the war in Ukraine. Look at all the love that countries from all over the world have sent to the people of the Ukraine, and the people of Russia too, because so many of them are, you
Oh,
know,
a whole
they
generation of young men have died
yes,
in Russia.
yes,
Yes.
yeah, yes. So, it is to go, okay, everything is happening as it is supposed to. You look at a lot of the political stuff going on. It doesn't matter where you are on it. There's a lot of political divisiveness. If instead of getting on sides and saying this person's wrong and this person's right, just, let's trust that life is unfolding the way it's supposed to. We're
Mhm.
to learn and to grow through all of it. Part of our
Yes.
job, I think, is to continue to shine our light and to
To
find,
forgive and to love. That's all
yes,
we are to do. That's our
yes,
job. We come here to learn to do that more perfectly. And if there were not negative things to push against and then to forgive, there'd be no reason for us to be here. That's
yeah.
what we're here to do.
Yeah, talk about beautifully said. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
And so, what a great book. Oh, I can't wait to read it. Can you
Yeah.
send it to me in PDF so we can do this again
Oh, you
after I've
bet.
read
I
it?
would love to. Yeah. 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 And it's 99 cents on Kindle if anybody's interested. So yeah, you can get it. It's
I don't even have
yeah,
a
and
Kindle. So just send it to me in PDF.
I
After I've
I
read it, well, I'll have you back. We'll just talk about the book
oh, that'd be lovely.
because
I'd love
that
that.
is so, these books that are written by young men who have just, or women for that matter, but I don't know
Mhm.
about any written by a young woman who's just gone home. But these
Mhm.
books that are written by these very young people who've just gone home they're full of truths that we would get in no other way. And they're so eager to help us understand these greater truths. I can't wait to see what he has said.
Yeah. Well, and you know what else is beautiful, Roberta, is I think it's not just Rob. I think it's everybody that's transitioning. And that's a message, I think, for everybody who's listening. If you're here, you've probably lost somebody important. And they are
Yeah.
so eager. They are so on the
They
other
so
side.
want us to know the truth. Yes.
Yes, and they want to help and they are communicating. And when Rob, he kept trying to get me to when he came to me and said, I'm gonna teach you how to teach others to connect in the way we
Yeah.
have. And
Yeah.
because I have a very public persona as a speaker and I stand on stage in front of thousands of people, I was like, Rob, I don't want to do that. Thank you, honey. But I don't, like I'm asking corporations to hire me to come in and motivate their people and talk about happiness. And there's huge ROI in businesses for having happy employees. But I'm like, but I don't want to also be the one who raises their hand and says, oh yeah, and I can help you talk to your dead kid. And Rob's like, oh, you are going to do it, Mom. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not, son. You've done enough for me already.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's just stick with the book, okay?
Right.
And he was like, nope. And so how he finally got me to relent was he said, when children die, especially when they die before their parents, the first person they usually want to talk to is their mom. So he said, we're going to start with moms because that's going to be the easiest. And, as
Yeah.
mothers, you said you have 3 children, we carry our children's DNA in our bodies. So
Yes.
they are a part of us, literally a part
So
of
true.
yeah. And so, and he said, Mom, I'm meeting all these souls over here. And he said, they are just banging on the veil. He said, you're always talking about crossing the veil. He's like, they are banging on the veil to get their mother's attention. And I happen to be a belly dancer. And so I have tons of veils. I love to veil dance. And he said, think about how much noise it makes, Mom, when you bang on a veil. None. He said they are banging on the veil and their moms just can't hear them. He's like, so I'm going to find the souls up here. You're going to find the mamas down there. We're going to bring them together. And it has
So
been such
wonderful.
a beautiful journey to help these mamas connect with their own children. And
I
again,
just love
not,
it.
yeah. And I don't think we have to be a medium or a psychic or a channel or
No.
any of that. I think a mother's love is enough.
So wonderful. That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
So do you work with groups then of mothers to help them to learn to do this, like helping parents heal, for example, those groups?
Yes, yeah. Well, like last night, I do some of their chapter meetings through the affiliates. I love that.
Yeah,
Last,
great groups, wonderful
yes,
groups.
yes.
Yes.
And then twice a year, I teach the Messages for Moms program, it's a 7-week program where I take them. Rob gave me step by step. I'm like, listen, buddy, if you're asking me to do this, then you gotta spell it out for me because
Yeah.
I can't pull stuff out of the ethers. I'm not a medium or a psychic. I'm like, I need a step-by-step process that anybody can do. So
Yes,
he
yes.
delivered. He delivered. So it's 7 weeks, and I teach it twice a year. I teach it in the spring and in the fall. And then
Oh,
I
beautiful.
also do it one-on-one, kind of in a VIP type status, because there are some mamas who don't want to wait till the next class. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and that's my favorite because Rob comes through all those it's so fun because by the end of the course, they're all like, thank you, Kim. And Rob, oh, thank you, Rob. I mean, he assists every one of them. It's kind of that mother's pride, even though he's on the other side. It's
Oh,
still kind of
yeah.
like, oh, that's
That's
my
my
boy,
boy.
still helping people. And so, yeah. And then, so yeah, I do it one-on-one. I've been a certified coach for over 20 years. So I can do it,
Oh, beautiful.
one-on-one or a group. So
Oh,
yeah.
Kim, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So what are your other kids doing now? They must all be the other two that are still on this side must be grown
Yeah.
up as well.
Yes. I actually have 3 because I had a little caboose. You had it right. I had 4 and 5 years, but then 9 years later, I had a little caboose. So,
The caboose. How
yes,
old is the caboose
the
now?
caboose, my baby is 24.
My goodness, you don't even look old enough for all of this.
Oh my God.
You
My
look
oldest
lovely.
turned 38 yesterday. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, they're all on their journey. They're all doing their thing. It's so interesting because none of them are really interested in the whole aspect of Rob being on the other side and communicating with me. And that's been a really beautiful lesson too. And I think that that might be helpful for some people on the call to hear that sometimes the people that you love and that are closest to you, they're not going to believe what you believe. They're not going to think what you think. They might, I mean,
no,
when
not
when
at
Rob
all.
started coming through to me and we'd be at a family gathering and I'd say something like, "Oh, this past week Rob told me," and it would just kind of get like quiet.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, and it would just be like they'd all kind of look at each other like, "Oh, there goes mom again." And so, I just shared it with that. I have a couple really good friends that think like I think. And so you
Yeah.
just share it with the people that are safe to do that and the people that believe. I mean, it's not like my family would be like, "Shut up" or "Don't say anything," but it's just that wasn't what they wanted to hear about. And that's fine. And we're all on our own journey. If they ever want to talk about it, I'm more than happy to talk about it. And I have mamas seeking me out, you know, because they want to learn to connect with their kid. They've got questions about the book, so I think you go to the people that have what you want and you share with the people that it's safe to share with. And so it's people like you that I'm so honored I get to meet and connect with and share my story with, because there are people that want to hear it. And so we just need to let
There are,
everybody.
there are a lot of strangers who want to hear it.
Yeah.
But welcome to my world. Nobody in my family cares about any of this.
Yeah.
They don't want me to, they think their mother and their grandmother and is weird,
Yeah.
frankly. I
I
mean,
know. But in today's world, do you want to be considered normal? I'm like, I'll take weird any day of the week
I'll
because
take weird too. But I used to think it was so surprising. I mean, I get emails from all over the world. Someone in Serbia is eager to hear from me.
yeah.
My own family couldn't care less about
Yes.
any of this.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that's important for people to hear, because sometimes we can get all in our feelings about it, or we can feel ostracized or misunderstood. No, I think as humans, everybody is just trying to get through and do the best they can do. And so we got to give them grace. We want them to give us grace. We got to give them grace right
I
back.
guess so. I guess so.
Yeah.
I just think it's very strange.
I know. I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd think they'd be relieved to hear, there's no such thing as death. They'd be relieved to
Right.
hear that,
Yeah.
their lives go on forever. They just don't care. I
Yeah.
guess because they've always sort of known this, if I believe it, then probably it's true, so they don't have to think about it. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is funny
Yeah.
that
And right. And I also think that we're planting seeds, you and I,
I,
that
yeah,
we're planting seeds, and there will be a day will come when something will happen and they'll think, "Oh, I remember I heard," or, "I heard something about this." And then they will be open, and we'll still be here shining our light,
I
willing
guess
to share the
so.
information. So
I guess so. I just think I mean, I used to be, a little bit, my feelings were a little bit hurt that they didn't
mhm,
care about any of what I do. But now I
mhm.
just think it's funny. It's,
Yeah, yeah. I remember asking Rob about it, and he's like, "Mama, everybody's on their own journey. Let them have their journey. You
that's
keep doing
true.
your thing." And he says the best thing you can do too. I feel like part of why I'm here and have this very unique positioning of having lost two children, so experiencing deep grief, but at the same time, for 20 years, my career has been about happiness. So you've got somebody who's job, career. I mean, I've written books on it. I speak about it every single month. I'm on a
That's a,
platform somewhere.
who better to teach
Yeah.
happiness? I think that's so beautiful that you
Yeah.
think that you're out there. I've lived it. I've lived the pain, so I can teach the joy.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. Well,
Seriously, I think that's the best.
I think it is part of my unique position here on the planet because I can stand, I feel like, as a beacon to parents that have lost children and I know, again, where many of us are profoundly affected by the death of our parents or siblings or best friends or spouses, nieces and nephews. I mean, every loss matters.
Yes.
There's no comparing losses. Not like, oh, mine was my child, so it's harder than yours.
No. Any loss is the worst loss.
Yes.
It's your loss.
Yeah. And so I feel like I get to stand as a beacon of, we can have these horrible losses. You have to do the work to deal with it. You have to. That for me, the grief recovery method was, I am not good. I went to some of these grief groups and people just sat around and telling their story. I'm a type A person. I'm like, I want to know what to do. Like, what do I do to begin to heal and feel better? Because sitting around telling this story is not making me feel better. No. And that's what I love about the grief recovery method. It's action oriented. And there's a grief recovery method. There are specialists in every town in America. You can go on their website. You can find somebody local. And I know there are also quite a few people in helping parents heal that also are certified in the grief recovery method. So you can, but it was an action oriented program, and it was 7 weeks. And I remember thinking, wow, can you really get a considerable shift in your grief in 7 weeks? But I thought, I'm now 62. I'm like, hell, my runway's getting short. I don't have 10 years to figure this out like I did when I was 30 with Chelsea. Like, I got to get to the heart of the matter here. Yeah. And I've done the work. I'm not here in this place because something just magically tapped me on the head with a wand. I've been in the trenches. I've done the work. And I think when we grieve, I think we have to do the work. I always say grief doesn't get better with time. Grief gets better when we deal with it. And there are some pretty powerful tools out there. And I know a lot of those groups where they do just sit around and, kind of tell the story, that has to help or they wouldn't keep going, So right. I know there are a lot of different ways for people to deal with their grief. And so I feel like I get to hold the space of saying you can have horrible pain in your life, and you can also move beyond it. You can also move beyond it, deal with it, move beyond it, and you can be happy. I am so happy. I love my life. I am excited, to get up. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't be sitting there and something comes on the TV and it reminds me of Rob, and I have this big picture of Rob on my wall, and I look over at him and it's just, the tears come. Of course, it's not that I don't grieve anymore, but I know that grief and joy can live side by side. They're not mutually exclusive. It's not like I'm grieving, I can't be happy. I've had mamas come up to me after I speak. And of course, these people, most of them have no idea of the work that I do outside of, the happiness speaking. And I just remember one mom said to me, yeah, I laughed for the first time the other day. And then I felt so guilty. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't be laughing. And I'm like,
that's
honey.
Terrible. That's awful. How sad that they would feel that way.
I know. I'm like, honey, you're not the one that died. You didn't die. Your child did. Yes. And that's awful. And we have to deal with that. But we're all still here for a reason. We've got to keep living, and joy and laughter and fun are one of the biggest parts. In fact, that very first day when I asked Rob, why are we, I didn't know if it was one and done. So I was like, what's the purpose of life? And he goes, to have fun, to live, to enjoy yourself. I'm like, seriously, Rob? That's the purpose of life, is to have fun? And he's like, yes, that's a big part of it. I mean, and to grow and to contribute. There's a whole lot of things. But we have got to remember to have fun. He's like, that's part of why we were put here. And, I even in my keynote, I say, our Constitution, the preeminent document of our country, talks about life, liberty, and the pursuit
of happiness.
And our country will go to war to defend life and liberty. But it's almost like the pursuit of happiness is just falling off the map. And yet, it was so important to our founding fathers, who I think were probably pretty freaking brilliant, compared to some of our, where we are today. Those were some brilliant men. who set up a good foundation. And it's like they mentioned the pursuit of happiness. It is a significant reason
It's
that I think
very
we're here.
important to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is the foundation, really, of the country.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are
And it,
all free. We were all meant to be free.
yes,
And
all people.
some of those men were slaveholders, but they couldn't
Hmm.
wait till they no longer had to hold slaves anymore.
Yeah.
The laws then required that they not let their slaves go free, but they wanted to as soon as
Yeah.
they could.
Yeah. 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 Interesting perspective, that comes around. And I love that too. I love that about your show. It's everything. It's, what's happening in the afterlife, what's happening in the real life. I mean, this is all stuff that we all get to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
But it's wonderful that you are teaching people, even people who are going through the worst pain. Hey, I've been there. I know how it feels,
Mm-hmm.
but we're here to experience joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can help you understand how to do that. Now
Mm-hmm.
that is a powerful lesson from a mom who's been there. Wow.
Yeah.
So you have a wonderful life.
I do. I love my life. I get up so excited every day. I mean, it's beautiful, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful, for the lessons I learned from Rob and Chelsea's life. I'm grateful the lessons I learned through their death. I'm grateful to have had the tools. Like when Rob died, I've been researching happiness for 20 years, so I know from the science backed side of it what it takes to be happy even after loss. Like one of the most surprising things to me was one of the best things that people can do, and this is great. I don't know when this podcast will be coming out, but one of the best things to help people in grief is to set goals. And I find that fascinating. Sometimes it's hard to even focus, but even just one little tiny goal, maybe it's going to be, I'm going to get to I don't know, to the floral store and buy some flowers to plant this week, or one tiny little thing, like set some goals. That can be really, really helpful. And we're coming up on the new year. And the beautiful thing about goal setting and happiness, I will share, is that it doesn't matter if you get your goals, because only 10% of our happiness is based on our circumstances. This is all science backed. They have found the bump in happiness comes just because you're pursuing something that's meaningful to you. So little life hack there. If you're here because you've lost somebody you love, and you're still in that deep grief phase, or even if you're not, I've been a huge goal setter for years anyways, but as 2026 approaches, set a couple goals for something you really want to have happen, because you're going to feel happier just having made that declaration and set the intention to go after those things versus not setting goals at all. So
Beautifully said. And we have come to the end of our time. I think that's a beautiful way to end it,
yeah.
because this will come out right around the actual end of this year. And
Okay.
as we're starting 2026. And I just need to read that book, and then I'm going to have you right back to talk about that, and to talk about right early in the new year. And
Yeah.
we'll talk about all those things.
That'd be
But
perfect. I'm going to send it to you as soon as we get off of here.
okay, perfect. Well, just stay
Yeah.
right there. I'll be right back. I just want to
Okay.
tell everybody who our next guest is going to be.
All right.
This has been so much fun. Oh,
Oh,
my dear ones, but unfortunately we have come to the end of our time. And everybody, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm very happy you were with us today. Please never forget that you're a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. If you're alive now, you're alive eternally. And when you get that, when you really understand what that means, it changes everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest is going to be Lori Seymour. She will be with us for the second time, and she'll be talking about her new book, Unconditional Remembrance, Your Connection to Source. Lori is the co-creator of the quantum connection process. This is something new and different. And she says it helps you to build a program, business, and life that expresses your own divine blueprint. She gives you she says through this, she can help you to come to financial flow together with time, health, and well-being to enjoy it all. Now, this is something we were not quite clear about when she was here last time, so I'm eager to kind of listen to her again. Please join us next week, and we'll all learn more about this different perspective on how to seek the help of Source. And this week, we've been talking, excuse me, I don't know, I have a frog in my throat. I've had one all day. We've been talking with Kim Hodous, who has been here for the second time. Kim was recommended to us by our wonderful, beautiful friend, Sandra Champlain. We all love Sandra. She's a very dear friend of mine, too. And Kim went through the temporary loss in this lifetime of 2 children. I didn't realize she then had an extra one. So she now has 3 who are on this side and 2 on the other side. And she is living a beautiful life, however, because she's teaching happiness. I love listening to her talk. She is a person transformed. She's the author of Beyond Grief, How a Son's Afterlife Connection Transformed a Mother's Loss into a Remarkable Spiritual Journey. And we now know that her son Rob was really the author of that book. I'm going to read it, and then she's going to come back, and she and I will share talking about it. I can't wait for that. Her relationship with her son Rob from beyond the veil is transforming her life in wonderful ways, and this is a lot like what's happening with Mikey and his mother Carol. It's a beautiful story, and I'm eager to hear more about it too. And her book really, I think, will show us how someone who has undergone even the worst loss has still established an ongoing relationship with that son who is really never left at all. So this is all about triumph, even over the worst possible loss. It's a beautiful, beautiful story, and I can't wait to hear more about it, frankly. So stay tuned. With maybe a month or so, 6 weeks or so, we'll have her back. And meanwhile, we've used up all our time, so I can't talk about anything else. Please just enjoy and make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you in particular, most of all in this entire universe. God loves you most of all. You are infinitely, eternally, perfectly, and forever loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.